Hey, good morning, you guys. I was up having my hot water and lemon. Haven't even washed my face or brushed my hair yet. But gosh, so I'm doing filming this weekend, and I'm sitting here thinking about the first thing that I want to address this morning in my group for my warriors. And I was praying and literally started thinking about osculates and how they affect our body so deeply that it can take 3 months to 3 years to get that under control. And I feel like when people hit stall outs or frustration or they anything, literally any kind of medical, the first thing they do is run to Google. And when they go to Google and you start any subject, I mean anything, I have a cramp in my toe, and you go Google it and you're going to start getting all these opinions of what it's related to. Literally, if you have a functional medicine doctor, you should just go to your doctor, discuss the situation, and then from there, obviously you trust them. You trust your life in their hands, but remember, they're just a coach. You are still the advocate. You're still the commander. You're the one who has to make that determination of whether or not that process or that food or whatever it is going to work for you. I coach people all day long, every day. And I've had people, go carnivore and come back and be like, oh my gosh, I feel the worst I've ever felt. And it's like, okay, let's isolate these situations and look at which ones apply to you that could be the root cause of all your problems. And I'll tell you over and over again, for all these years, 45 years of experience, the liver is the problem. People go, oh no, my doctor says I don't have a liver problem. I don't know what you're talking about. That's not true. All I can say is that if you address it first, go to the root first, and then you start working your way back, most likely you'll figure out what the other problems are. So this morning, that led me to osculates, because people constantly want to deal with well, what about oscillate dumping? How slow should I go? Should I jump in? Are avocados oscillate? Am I allowed to have an avocado? Are eggs high oscillate? Where am I getting my osculates from? Then it takes you to the kidney, right? And then the professionals online will tell you, red meat's going to kill you. Don't go on a red meat diet if you have kidney disease, if you have this, you have that. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to claim to be a doctor. I'm not going to lead you like I'm a doctor. But I'm going to tell you, do your research. Go to the highest professionals out there with the carnivore diet, starting with Sean Baker. Literally started with him years ago. And I am a nutritionalist from eating 6 times a day, high vegetables, high fruit, low protein, can't even talk, low fat, high protein. You can tell I've gone the other way now because I wanted to say high fat, right? It's crazy how much we taught that we learned in school that is just flat out inaccurate. It's just not true. And you have to untie those lies. Your brain wants to think one thing, somebody's shooting in something else, and from there confusion starts. So I hopped on this morning. It is day 8 of my 30 days of September. And I just want to tell you, I want to be here to encourage you. Do not give up. If you have a stall out, you're having difficulties. I have never yet counseled anybody who dealt with the flu-like symptoms of carnivore. I know it's real. I'm not saying it's not, but if you do things a certain way, typically you can omit some of those side effects that make you just want to jump ship, makes you want to say, forget it, throw in the towel. Or maybe yet you're 4, 5, 6 months in and you have a stall out. My personal journey has been pretty intense. There was so much that went down in such a short period of time. I never once thought about quitting. I never once thought about leaving, because I had a mindset first that I knew this is what I had to do. I was on the door of death. I was on the footsteps. And that alone was enough, that fear was enough to press into my last resort. If you feel like that and you're there and you need a coach and you don't know what to do and you're not a great advocate for yourself, get your mindset first. Take the time to say, I don't have any other options, and then get in there and figure it out. It took me a while, to be honest with you, I could not eat bacon. But does that mean bacon is bad for other people? No, you can have bacon if you want bacon. I personally cannot eat bacon. In the beginning, I did have it. It seemed like my body was fine. There was some symptoms that started saying no. And then those symptoms led to deeper symptoms, and it said no. And then after that, it got deeper. And every time my body got to another level of detoxing and healing, my body on its own rejected things it didn't want. It is different for every single one of us, which is why either, your doctor, a nutritionist, or a coach, like whatever it is, that is where, and I'm not advocating myself, but that is where having someone to walk the journey with you makes a world of difference. I am in so many groups, and I'll be honest with you, that is not one-on-one, it's a group. So people who are educated enough to know what helped their body, but not completely educated enough to have a degree, are going to give you loads of information. They are going to constantly say, try this, try this, try this. It worked for me. It didn't work for me. I think that's a great way to experiment, but it also could just be kicking the can down the road. You could ultimately get really bogged down with mental processes that don't work, mental, let's just say clutter. That's probably a really good word for it. So you have all this clutter going on in your brain, and now you don't know how to decipher what to keep and what to get rid of. It's a lot the same as the junk drawer in your house. And I feel like when we open that drawer, we're like, oh my gosh, I need to clean this drawer out. But then there's a part of you that goes, oh, I don't think I should get rid of that. I might need it. Or, oh, I don't need that. And you toss it. It's the same with your food diagnosis. And you're trying things and you're, okay, should I get rid of this? Should I add that? Should I buy more supplements? What should I take? Is MCT oil okay? Which salt is best? Oh my gosh, do I take salt? I have high blood pressure. Should I go off my pressure? What should I, there's just so many questions. The best thing you can do, and literally, I tell you this from my heart, the best thing you can do is pray about it, follow the experts, or get yourself a great coach who is proven. Their track record shows that they diagnose people, they set up programs that work, they have a win-win situation, and literally, for example, and this is not everybody, but it is probably over 80% of the people who I work with, within 5 to 6 months, let's just say 6 months to be really safe, they've already lost 60 pounds, they've done it safely, they reversed their blood work, they've started to heal their liver disease. They've started and or fully healed kidney disease, vision, skin, can't speak this morning, lymphatic system, lymphoma. There's so many autoimmune diseases out there. I even had a gal on Friday say to me, wait, I have autoimmune disease? And it's like, yeah, you do. You have about 9 of them. Well, how come the doctors never told me that? And I'm like, well, what part of Hashimoto's do you think is not an autoimmune disease? And she was like, I didn't know that. And it's like, how can you go to a doctor for 12 years, and them not tell you this? I mean, I guess the bonus is that she stays off of the internet, right? Because she didn't Google it. She just listened to her doctor. At any rate, it has been exactly 31 days for her, and her Hashimoto's is gone. For me, I had Graves' disease, just the opposite, and thyroid eye disease. And to be honest with you, they were both healed in 21 days. And you're going to go, they're not healed. Let's just say whether you want to call it in remission or healed. If I don't ever do what I was doing, they're dormant. That's probably the best way for me to put that out there. But if I went back to doing that, the odds are I would kick it right back in. And when I was eating poorly, the American Standard Diet, I had so much going into my body that it confused my brain as well. So I didn't have the nutrients in my brain that I needed. So when we're at low gut health, we have high anxiety. When we have high anxiety, we have mental stress. When we have mental stressors, we start to function outside of the hormone levels that we're supposed to be. So then the hormone stressors create problems with our thyroid, our cortisol, our leptin, our ghrelin. It just kind of goes on, right? And these things get out of whack, which from then leads to medication and or depression, anxiety, social anxiety, mental stress, feeling as though you need something to get yourself through the day. So as we all know, that goes to medication. I never ended up that far. Thank you, Lord. I never, ever have ever been on medications. So I did have a medication for the thyroid. It was given to me when I was up in Newfoundland. And then, well, let me take that back. I was diagnosed in Newfoundland, but they would not give me the medication because I was an American until I went back to America, got it approved by my own personal doctor who would not go off another doctor's word. So then they were like, we need to do your blood work. So long story short, I had gone to Phoenix to work. I was imploding a building there. And while I was there, I was getting sicker and sicker. Like literally sweat was running off me. I was shaking. My adrenal glands were out of control. My thyroid was racing. Like my heart felt like it was going to explode. And my body was probably about the age. Well, I actually did a test on that. And my body was coming in. At the time, I was 51-ish. So menopause. I'd already had my last child at 46. And I did a test that said my body was 88 years old. So literally I was dying very, very quickly. Now my test says that I'm 32 years old at 65. Birthday month, this is September, 30 days to remember. And I'm so grateful for life. But what I wanted to tell you is I went from there to an acupuncturist. I never took the pills, never got the pills. And I flew into Texas to a acupuncturist, and she goes, do you believe in healing? I said, absolutely. I know God can heal my body. And I know that if I do the right steps, the same thing will happen. So needless to say, I went through 6 days of intense therapy. They realigned my thyroid. And after the 6 days, every single symptom I had kind of like settled down. Changed my diet, went over to Carnivore, and stopped with the osculates, stopped with all the vegan, because I was a vegan. And sometimes I was a vegan, like a lacto vegan. I did have a few eggs, and occasionally I'd have all white, lean chicken breast. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that because it was like the easiest meat to eat. But the worst part is I drenched it with dressing just to choke it down, but supposedly getting my protein. So when I went to leave on day 6, because I went Monday to Saturday, she said, you know, are you okay? And I said, yeah. And she goes, do you feel like you can go without ever taking those pills? And I said, absolutely. I trust you. I 100% trust you. It was a great thing that she did. Like she opened up my gallbladder. She opened up my liver. She found my hot spots. We got rid of all the congestion of where the blood was not flowing properly. Was amazing. So long story short, I left there with no medication and my thyroid actually returned to normal. However, in a very short time, I went back to my bad habits, and my bad habits pushed me back into thyroid storms. So through these thyroid storms, I would literally break out in rashes. My throat would swell up. The worst part of hyperthyroidism for me, everybody's hyperthyroidism is just a little bit different, but for my own testimony, was the shakes. I would just like shake nonstop, like I had Parkinson's disease. It was so awful. So I would, revisit the doctor, and they would be like, oh, you're doing fine. You're just having, these reactions to a storm. Your thyroid's just shutting down. We should probably do thyroidectomy, take it out. Let's do iodine treatment. Let's do radiation, like whatever it was. And I was like, I don't want to do that. So at the exact same time, my gallbladder was failing. Well, any good doctor would have said, oh, gallbladder issues? That's not an issue. It's your fatty liver disease. It's your fibrosis of the liver. It's your cirrhosis of the liver, which I was not a drinker, so it was not from alcohol. It was from sickness. It was from doing all these Aleve and Advil and all these things to stay out of pain. I had neuropathy in the feet so bad, and I had to be on the concrete every day working in the demolition business, to the point that if you would have seen my gait when I was walking off the job in the evening, it was so poor. And of course, I just said, oh, it's my knees. It's the shape of the boob. You always have excuses. You have to stop with the excuses, stop with what's right, what's wrong, and really get to the root cause of what is causing all your diseases. So I'm challenging you on this 30-day challenge is get back to the basics and get your liver detox. It will take care of some of that oxalate dumping. It's going to take care of some of your medical problems. And at the end of the day, if I'm 100% wrong, you cleaned your liver, which is going to give you a better life and it's going to give you more life. So that's my morning. Love you guys. Take care. God bless. And I'll be back later. We're doing filming. So this morning I'm up, finished writing my my 5th mini course. And I actually wrote it last night. I just have a tiny bit I have to finish this morning. So I'm going to hop off and go get that done. And stay positive, you guys. Just know that the carnivore diet is the way to go. It can take time. When you were getting sick, you did not put a time limit. Oh, I'm going to get sick in exactly 6 months. I want to get sick. So when we're getting healthy, try to remove the clock. Yes, it's all you have. I do an entire course on time management. But I will tell you what, you cannot predict the damage that is already done to your cellular development and then how long that's going to take to heal, because it is different for every single one of us. So focus on the healing. Give yourself those little rewards, the non-scale victories. Maybe you did used to shake, or maybe you got sick every time you ate, or maybe you still are getting sick every time you eat. Journaling will help you. I have a gal, love her to death. I'm not going to say her name. She did 98 pounds down in less than a year. She was nailing it. She was like, I got this, I got this. And she'll probably watch this and be like, oh my gosh, you're talking about me. But here's the deal. No matter how many times we think we've got it, including myself, you can't veer from it. You do not. You're an addict. You're addicted to food. You're addicted to sugar. Your body's addicted. You may not believe you're addicted. You may not want to own it. But at the end of the day, you have a carb addiction. And you got to tell that little heifer to stop. Otherwise, every single time she doesn't get what she wants, she just throws a fit. And when I say little heifer, it's the girl hanging out inside of you, or the boy. This drives a person to go, a little bit won't hurt me. So they go to a wedding and they eat off scale, and then they have maybe some sugars, different piece of cake or a little bit of alcohol, whatever it is. And then for 3 or 4 days, they just feel like crap. And they go, oh, I'm just going to have a little bit more because it made me feel better. So you fed the addiction. Next thing you know, a week has gone by, 2 weeks has gone by, 2 months has gone by. And now you're a woman and a man, you're obsessed with that scale. You step on the scale and you're like, oh my gosh, I've gained 30 pounds. How did this happen? Little bit does matter. Moderation is not okay. Ever. I have a counselor I work with he's actually my patient. And one day we were talking and he had to come down like over 100 pounds as well. He had just gotten huge from helping other people with their mental problems. And I do work a lot with him on the mind. And he said, how long? I said, what do you mean? He goes, can I have a cheat day? Am I allowed to have a little bit of this or that whenever I can? And I'm like, I don't know. Let me ask you a question. He goes, yeah. And I was being facetious. And I said, do you allow your meth clients to have meth only on Saturdays? Or maybe your heroin can have heroin on Tuesdays and Thursdays? Or how does that work? And he goes, funny. And I said, no, seriously, how does that work? Do you allow them to have heroin, meth, alcohol addiction, whatever the addiction is, moderately? Is that okay? And he goes, absolutely not. I said, well, then there's your answer. And then I said, I have another one for you that doesn't have to do with drugs, because there's people who never did drugs and they have failure of the liver or fibrosis of the liver, right? And I say, okay, so is moderation okay? And he's like, well, obviously not. And I said, exactly. I go, are you allowed to moderately cheat on your spouse? Are you in moderation allowed to beat your child? Are you in moderation allowed to go over and bash on your neighbor? No, we have to have in stone healthy boundaries that we don't do those things. You don't do them. It is not optional. It is not in your vocabulary. It's not in your wheelhouse. You are not allowed to do those things. So today I challenge you, get out a pen and paper and write down 3 non-negotiables, 3 things that you know without a shadow of a doubt you will never do. Maybe you're never going to kill someone. Maybe you're never ever going to cheat on your spouse. Write those things down, and then I want you to take how did you get that concept? How did you get to the point that you really believe that you are never going to cheat? Like, what made you have that value? Then put that value over to your carnivore. So you say, I am never, ever going to have osculates again. I'm never going to have things, like vegetables or fruits or sugars or aspartame or like whatever it is. What is the foundation of that value? Because when you get that mindset, that is what's going to help you lock in and be like, no, I'm never going to do that. Because to go kill your neighbor is a fleshly thing, like you killed them, but you're killing yourself in the flesh as well every single time you choose to go back and go back and go back. And one more thing I want to address, I see people all the time going, okay, you can lose weight just by your nutrition. Well, that's true. It is truly like 100%. I've dealt with lots of people who have never, ever, ever worked out. And they've lost 80, 100, 150 pounds in a year, gone, no problems. They never, ever, ever worked out. So yeah, you can do that without working out. But I'm going to tell you what, if you want your skin and your body to rebuild itself, you do need to work out. And I am going to stand firm on that for the rest of my life, because your heart is a muscle. So if you're not giving yourself cardiovascular training, you're not giving yourself HIIT training, intermittent training, or interval training, which is my foundation. I've been teaching and doing interval training since 1978. As an athlete myself, I also interval trained. We did sprints and gymnastics. I trained up, down, up, down. But the Australians actually came up with why we want to do interval training, and they had the healthiest hearts over America. That's a whole nother subject. I'm not going to go into it this morning because this is super long, but I'm going to tell you what, stay true to yourself. Do what works for you. And if you need coaching, you need help, I'm here for you. You just let me know. You take care and have a God bless day and an excellent Sunday.